Hello, and welcome to what may be the final headquarters update. So I continually have more and more of you to thank on a daily basis, and it just blows my mind. I really appreciate your support and all the things it's making possible, both personally for me and just in this channel. And what this, for those of you who are newer patrons, you may not quite get what headquarters is, and I've had a few people ask as they've watched some older posts as I've uploaded. So I'm gonna give you a really quick summary. In no small part, in fact, entirely due to your support, I felt comfortable stepping into some murky waters and buying a house. That's what headquarters is, but it's a bit of a weird house because it's not quite finished, and it hasn't been, still isn't. I was not the person who built this house, but I'm the first person to have lived in it. This is not my permanent address, and although that might be my goal, and I'm leaning more and more towards that, currently I don't have a lot of, most of my furniture is not here. I'm trying to keep the house mostly empty, except for what I need to make videos. So I did recently move my main desktop computer down here, so what I've tended to do lately is I'll come down here for 3-4 days at a time, try to do, so basically like I'll do some writing at home, and then I'll come down here, finish up the writing, and then basically just do a work spree until I get the video done, and then either have it completely finished, go back home and upload it. Sometimes I upload it from down here, or I will get it, like maybe 3/4 done, know that I have all the footage I need, then go back home and finish it on my laptop. So that's how this has been working for the past 3-4 months now. And finally, this studio is what I would consider done. Now, I know I still have improvements to make from the sound, but what happened, the change I made for the last episode was there's now a boom mic above me. So I have a Rode shotgun mic pointed at me, and it is surprisingly sensitive from the room acoustics. And I think it's not actually the room acoustics because, I'll pan you around now, I have a lot of essentially blankets, but they're the insert of a duvet. I have a lot of those hanging up right in front of me. They converge at the camera, and I myself can't really hear any room acoustics at all, but I believe the boom mic is too close to the ductwork above it. So what I need to do is I need to wrap the ductwork and possibly just have more shielding around the mic itself. So I'm gonna play around with that before I shoot the next talking head, and hopefully it's much improved, because this mic, other thing, this is the new sound recorder for it. So this is a Tascam DR100 Mark III, and this is a much better recorder. It has a much lower noise floor. Although interestingly, when I made the last video, I thought that the noise was much improved from my lav mic in the DR05, but a lot of people said there was a lot more noise. So I don't know if that was subjective or something the way I had the audio balance, but this is much clearer. The reason why I wanted to update my audio was not only the old audio was a little noisy, but it was always muffled and not very clear. I had to do a lot of post-processing to make that something that I wanted to do. And in the last video, I also failed to de-ess it. I kind of just completely forgot about that. And I got used to how harsh those S's were. So yes, those were kind of bad, but I really hope that I can get this working better and hopefully perfectly, because it is very freeing to not have the microphone on me. And normally this is just sitting out of frame where you can't see it. So I just start recording, hit record on the camera and be done. And this portable recorder was, I just haven't felt like, I could have probably done in-camera audio with a audio interface and XLR stuff, but I'm just stuck in the habit of having a different device do audio recording than the camera, mainly because I prefer to have the audio level set manually. And it could be I'm doing that needlessly and it would be fine to use in-camera audio and possibly better, but I've never liked the idea of background noise constantly increasing and decreasing in amplitude as automatic gain control happens, though maybe that's not a thing I should be worrying about at all. But also, I might have already mentioned this, but the lights are finally rigged and I no longer need to set up the lights. So I took forever to do this because I'm a lazy person sometimes, but the lights over there, the main lights, are now finally permanently attached. I want to adjust my hair lighting, possibly even alter it. The hair lighting is really just gross. It's just a couple of floodlight bulbs and shop lights, so it does work, but I do want to toy around with that a little more, and that the way that's rigged up to the ceiling is atrocious, but the other two lights are actually using real light mounts, so that's a little better anyway. So yeah, I kind of got off track. So one of the first things that I did in this room was do the electrical. So I have switches to take care of 4 different quadrants in this room for overhead lighting, as well as each outlet box has both a white side and a gray side. The gray side is on a switch, so that way all the set elements behind me, including the 2 TVs, all the lights, and well, I guess that's it, but everything that's back there is just flick one switch and it all comes on. So when I come down here, all I need to do is flick 2 switches. Everything is automatically together, and it is so great because that was one of the main reasons I wanted to get a studio space, was trying to do this in my home, and not having a dedicated space for it meant either I had to tear down everything and then bring it back up, which unfortunately I'm just not the kind of person who can do that. So option B was everything is just set up all the time, and basically I lived out of my kitchen and bedroom. The living area was just sacrificed for making YouTube videos. So this is much nicer, and the reason why this house was a good fit was that when I eventually moved down here, there's about as much space as I have currently where I live, a little more than, but not a whole lot more. But it's completely separate from here. So living basically within the same means that I was before, but having a completely separate workspace for making videos. And so this room is tailor-made for making videos. There is no ceiling because of the fact that I want to be able to rig whatever I may want to rig up there at any time. And it's come in handy many times because having blank floor joists is just, tack something up there. And yeah, so that's what headquarters is for those that weren't filled in. Thank you so much for making it financially possible. And as I said, I gravitate more and more towards just living here all the time. There are some things that kind of scare me about being out here all the time, just because it is very far from any sort of, not like civilization, but a lot of the stuff that I enjoy where I live is just not out here, because this is it's rural, and some people seem surprised by that I chose to do that. But this is, if I get in the car, drive 3 minutes down the road, it will be a cornfield and be in the middle of a cornfield. So yeah, so I've always been a homebody, so I don't think that it's going to be a big deal for me to decide to live here, but it does concern me nonetheless. Speaking of biggest hurdle, biggest thing that's like, is internet access. This has been an ongoing saga down here because the phone company, who is the only ISP in this area, is out of ports. So although they have phone lines, and in fact I had one installed here but have since disconnected it once I learned there was no hope of me getting internet, they can't get anybody internet. So you're just SOL when it comes to internet coverage. So my current solution is I have a Ubiquiti power beam antenna beaming to a neighbor who already has internet access, and we have an arrangement, who's super nice of him, where I can just use it all the time, because he's also not down here full time, so it's very rare that we're actually both here together. And if that's the case, then we share it, and hopefully we're not both trying to stream something. But that option has two annoying caveats. The first is, the first is just that because the router is not here, if there have been issues with the router, which there have been, I either need to get him to come here and let me in, or I need to just go, because he left me a key so I can go over there and reset it, but it's certainly not the most convenient thing. But the worst thing is a problem that I didn't know was going to be an issue. All around here is woods, basically, and so even though we're not very far away, there are a lot of trees between me and him. Now, that's not a problem, except every time it rains, the connection goes out. And it only happened once the trees got leaves. So in the winter, or I guess early spring when I set this up, didn't know this was going to be a thing, but then suddenly around May, it was like, why did the internet go down? Well, it's because I guess when the leaves are wet, then it attenuates the signal so much that it just breaks. And annoyingly, it doesn't come right back when it stops raining. It takes about an hour. So granted, it is now the middle of September, so it's not going to be too much longer till the leaves are gone, and then I won't have this issue for a while, but it is still annoying. The other option is I have an AT&T hotspot, which I am possibly going to get rid of because it's now basically a spare at this point. But the thing is, the solution that I have with the power beam antennas, it's DSL out here, and it's 6 megabits down, 1 megabit up. And when I'm uploading, it saturates the connection and I can't really do anything else until the upload is finished. So it wouldn't be terrible if I only had 1 megabit up. A video like the last one I made would take about 12 to 15 hours to upload, which is, horrendous. But if I could still do other stuff while it's uploading, that wouldn't matter. But the fact of the matter is, when it's uploading, you're done. So I was using the hotspot to upload over cellular, but again, once the trees got leaves, that slowed down. So I have to bring the box outside and put it on a ladder above the garage to get a decent upload speed. And I'm talking 3 megabits per second. Weirdly, in the winter, I was able to get 12 megabits per second. But again, because of the trees having leaves, that's about it. But anyway, we are, as in those of us in this area, are just kind of stuck without having a great ISP. However, I talked about a new ISP that's coming to the area that is supposedly going to be available soon. The progress has been very slow. They are indeed now offering service to some people, but they don't have I believe they don't have the repeater antennas set up yet. So I am not yet in an area that could get that service. And it's, when you are in a rural area, you get gouged for internet service really bad. So what you tend to be able to get is not only just crap, but also expensive. But this new ISP, I should be able to get at least 12 down and 3 up, and here's the thing, that's actually not terrible. I mean, I'm sure the rest of the world is like laughing at me, but if you have a 12 megabit down, you can stream HD movies, not 4K, but HD really well. And, I don't download really big files except for the occasional times when I'm updating Premiere or the other Adobe stuff. So yeah, those updates take, 45 minutes to an hour rather than, 10 minutes, but it's not the worst thing. The catch is that this ISP is going to have not data limits, but once you go over 300 gigabytes, I believe, every month, then you're locked down to something like 3 meg. So that sucks. However, I looked at my usage from Comcast, and typically when I was living full time, still I am living full time, but before headquarters was here, my typical monthly usage was about 280 gigabytes. So I think I would rarely get there. And even then it would only be a small period of the month where I might be throttled, but still it sucks. It really sucks out here. And so that is my biggest reason why it's like, I could not commit to living here without some better connectivity. Because like I said, currently, if it rains, well, no more internet for you. I can break out the AT&T box to get my computer back online, and some of the other network stuff that I have down here. Or, you know, I could maybe tether my phone, but I haven't even looked into doing that because I don't think that's possible with our data plan that we have in the family. I haven't double checked, but we have, like, I know you can't use your phone as a hotspot on our data plan, so I don't know if tethering would work or not. You can let me know if you happen to know. But how far? Oh boy. Yeah, these updates tend to be quite rambly, but I did want to talk about the internet and show you that the lights are up. I'm sorry for not turning on the set lights, by the way. I'm probably going to end up shooting. Oh, did I say today is Saturday the 14th? The 14th of September, right? Because Tuesday, hang on. If that's not right, go ahead and laugh at me. But it is Saturday. As I speak, the Vintage Computing Festival Midwest is happening, which someone invited me to. If it was a patron, I'm really sorry I never responded to you. And I only realized that was happening yesterday when I watched a video, Lazy Game Review's latest mail unboxing video. And so I kind of timed that poorly because I'm here, not there, and I won't be able to go back until probably Monday, maybe Sunday, but it would be Sunday afternoon. So, oops. But I will say, I hate if this disappoints you, but vintage computing is not really my thing. It's I love watching LGR, like when I see people using those old computers. It's really cool to see like history of stuff that's before my time that I didn't really get to experience. But my nostalgia for computers only goes back to Windows 95. So I've played around with a Commodore and I like the history of computers, but I would feel very out of place going to an event like that. And also I'm extraordinarily introverted, so events just aren't really my thing. But I would have liked to go just to see see Clint and David of 8-Bit. The 8-Bit guy was there. And apparently Ben Heck was there, though. Yeah, anyway. So I know someone said, hey, do you want to go? And I never responded. And I'm sorry for not doing that, but I completely forgot that was even happening. So even if I had, decided that I wanted to go, I'm stuck here. Yay me. Anyway, I want to show you the other big thing that happened down here and I have Marco Arment to thank for this, because I was musing on Twitter that I was going to maybe upgrade my camera, and I was thinking of spending really stupid money on a Lumix S1 because I would like the idea of going to a full frame camera rather than micro four thirds, and he convinced me to not, because that would be a diminishing returns situation. So I didn't. And I'm very thankful that I didn't, because right after I made that decision, a heat wave happened, and I discovered, oh no, this place is not tolerable when it gets hot. Sorry, I was looking at the time. When I went back to my portable air conditioner video, that was here, and the whole point was to have one room air conditioned, because I didn't want to invest in a new HVAC system this soon. So just got a cheap little portable unit, and I had one room cooled. That was great, except because portable air conditioners suck air in to the rest of the house, it was getting unbearably hot in the rest of the house. And most days it would get down to maybe 70 or even 68, so I could open the windows, get the rest of the house pretty cool, and be fine. Except there was a stretch in July where it wouldn't get below 80 for like a week, and the highest temperature it got in here was 84, and even down here in the basement. So there were a couple of videos that I made where I was patting my head with a sock between takes because I was that sweaty, and it was really, really unpleasant. So now over there is this. I'm now switching over to the camera's microphone because I'm unforgivably lazy. Please forgive me, even though it is unforgivable. So now in this half of the basement, we have a different thing. So if you were watching headquarters updates from very early on, you'll know that one of the first problems I ran into was that the furnace that was here would occasionally not light. And so the furnace would time out, and it kind of freaked me out because, you know, it gets very cold here and I didn't want to find out that the heat went out. So I was not planning to replace it because I cleaned the burners, which appeared to fix the problem. But then, sadly, the problem came back with a vengeance, just as bad as it was before. So the burners, even though I cleaned them, seem to still not be in great shape. So it ended up, well, I'm kind of getting too far ahead. So because I had quotes to come out and just install air conditioning and use the old furnace. But both places that came and gave me a quote wouldn't be able to use the original A coil because the original coil was for an R22 system. The house was built like right at the tail end of when R22 was being installed new. And since nobody wanted to use the coil, the cost was so high that I said, well, how much more would it be to just replace the furnace? And, you know, it gives me peace of mind that now it is, you know, it's not gonna, you know, not work for me. And it's also just a lot better because this furnace is a much quieter than the old one. So it's a fun little advantage just right off the bat. And it's just as efficient, and the air conditioner is very efficient. In fact, this house, I believe I said it before. If I didn't say it in this video, I apologize, but it stays remarkably cool even in the summer, except for when it gets really hot. So on most days, even when it's quite hot outside, the air conditioner will run for at most 3 or 4 hours during the day, total run time. So it's pretty amazing. It actually stinks a little bit because it doesn't pull out as much humidity, but this system is not oversized. It's only a 2.5 ton system. So it's just, this house is so well insulated. So I do keep running the dehumidifier occasionally if it's pretty humid out there. But yes, so new furnace was installed. Thank you, Marco, for convincing me to not be an idiot and get a new camera I didn't need, because I was able to install this and finally get air conditioning. And also, fun fact, the company, I did not use the company who installed it at first, even though I got a quote from them. And part of why I didn't want to use them is because A, they didn't give me the quotes I wanted. I wanted to know with and without replacing the furnace. They only told me with replacing the furnace. And B, they wanted to oversize the system so they wanted to put a 4-ton unit in this house. And if this house is 1,400 square feet, it is not at all requiring a 4-ton unit. Plus, it's so shaded from the outside. So I was not impressed with that bid. And it turned out that the original furnace both was oversized, and that may in fact be why it didn't last very long, because the furnace was set to, or the thermostat was set to 45 degrees, which is, you know, only 5 degrees Celsius above freezing point, maybe 6. So that old furnace, being a 100,000 BTU furnace for a house this size, set to 45 degrees, it probably ran really short cycles, and that's not good for a furnace, and that may be why the burners got so badly corroded. This is a 70,000 BTU unit, which I think is much more appropriate. I'm no expert, but just going based upon calculators and where I am and knowing the features about the house, 100,000 BTU was ridiculous. And especially a 4-ton air conditioner would be completely ridiculous. So yeah, anyway, I'm very happy to have this. Unfortunately, although I set out to get it installed in July, it didn't get, or I signed the agreement to install it in July. They were so backed up because I waited too long to do this that they couldn't install it till the middle of August, or the early August, and so it has not actually needed to run much at all because the weather's been more cooperative. But also to the I don't think I said this before, I apologize if I did, but just to give you a hint of how rural I am, this is not natural gas. This is propane. There's a big 500-gallon tank in the front yard with propane in it. Fantastic. This is where I now keep t-shirts, because one of the things that I have still not fixed is the fact that this house doesn't have closets. So if you were looking for closet space, currently there is none. So this is just a closet organizer. This shirt I'm going to wear soon. If you know what that is, congratulations. If you don't, I'm not going to tell you. As far as back here, it's really, really messy still. This is all just storage, and I have very loosely organized my various crap and garbage, as well as, you know, like pieces of equipment that I want to eventually do videos on or have already done videos on. The RCA VCR I just tucked right back there, though I'm going to need it shortly. And then what I plan to do, these shelves here are really awful. They were just built from like scrap, and I want to remove these and put in some floor cabinets, and then have a counter, like a workbench type thing. And I actually already have the counter for that. It is in the garage, but I don't have cabinets yet, so it is just, I haven't done anything with these. But these are truly awful. I don't know. They're not sturdy at all. So yeah, definitely those are gonna go. But this, you know, this half of the basement, the only thing I've done is install lighting and just some cheap LED shop lights that have, you might be able to tell, what do I have the shutter speed set to? 30. I have the shutter speed set to a 30th of a second, and you can see banding. These have no smoothing on them whatsoever. If I up the shutter speed, look at how bad that is. I bet they're only halfway rectified too. So if you were sensitive to flickering lights, these are horrible, but luckily I am not. And then this is the back side. Oh yeah, this is my control panel for everything. So this is the only, let me refocus. This is the only switch that actually controls anything overhead. These three are wired to outlets, but they're just, nothing's plugged into them. And then this powers the right half of the room. So this has the set lights on it, and this powers the left half of the room. And yeah, so this was all electrical work I did myself, and it went really smoothly. So hooray. And then just to show you here, so you can see, everything's controlled just with that one switch. It's really nice. And then this is the back side, so the set is over there. Okay, and now that I have shown you the new changes to the actual set, which really wasn't, no, there weren't changes, just finally putting the lights up and having this set up how I truly wanted it, let me show you about some of the future plans for down here. So some patrons already know about this, but I haven't I'm sorry, it took me so long to make this, but I have a sitting area down here, not only because this is the only place that is considered, you could consider furnished, but I want to have some sort of like a discussion area, and I might do more decoration of the wall behind here, but I do want to get some sort of a window treatment so I can black out that window, and also that's just a window well, so it's really ugly. Although, fun fact, I get frogs living in here routinely, and I'd be shocked. Yep, there's one. I might have to manually focus and get you. We need to crank up the power, Captain. Can you see it? Oh. There you go. There's a frog. And there's another one at the back. So I worry that these frogs are trapped here. I don't think they are, but anyway, you occasionally hear they'll jump up against the window and you just hear thunk. Oh, hi, I took the jacket off. So anyway, I need to put a window treatment of some sort over that window. and then kind of decorate that wall, put a lamp here, and have some sort of like a whimsical seating area that I can cut to for certain, I don't know, interruptions, do some creative stuff like that. The more of the duvet inserts are along the back wall, hopefully helping with acoustics. And I'll be interested to see how this sounds through the camera's microphone, because I haven't recorded anything like this for a long time. But then the other thing that's down here, which I don't know if I will ever make it part of a set or if it's just going to continue to be my thing, is this. I finally caved and figured I want somewhere to put all of my AV stuff so I can have it hooked up and use at a moment's notice, and also be able to capture anything at a moment's notice. So the setup that I showed you for video capture in that video was this, and it's still not completely put together yet, but I went to eBay and got some different parts that I have not had, for instance, a decent AV receiver. I really like these JBL speakers, but the AV receiver that I have had it's an early or late 90s Sony unit, and it doesn't have very good like treble bass adjustments, and these speakers need a lot of bass to drive them pretty well. So got a new AV receiver which also has way more inputs, and so what I have is, because it has multiple video outputs, there's one going to the TV just over a composite, but there's another one going to the HDMI converter box going to the capture thing. So anything I plug into the front of that panel, I can easily capture, and that's how I just got the captures from the CED. So I did have to use a VCR because the CED only outputs to RF, but I just put a VCR there, put the CED player on top of it, plugged it in there, hit the button, boom, captured. So I'm a huge fan of this setup, and this is a TV that I have hardly used because every time I come down here, I never give myself time to relax, which honestly, it's something I'm struggling with right now, is time management, because I never feel like I have time to do anything, because I shouldn't be spending time on myself. And it totally is, I don't know what to call it, but I think it's just what it is when you work for yourself, is you're like, especially in the type of work that I do, it's like I could be writing, I could be doing something else, and so this TV has done very little, but it's here. Oh, actually, this rug. So what I had, two of the blankets covering the wall here, and then I decided to wall mount the TV, and eventually there's a hole behind it so I can have it completely floating. What I was going to do, because I've always liked the idea of carpet on walls, I don't know why, but there's a very 80s aesthetic to that I just love. So this rug, eventually I want to take the TV off and actually put the rug behind the TV. So cut a big old hole in the rug so you can put the wall mount in it and have the TV floating on top of the red rug. I think that would look really cool. So that's why that's there. I just haven't gotten around to doing that because I need to basically move all this out and also take the TV off the wall. Forgive my messes. Part of this room, it's hard to keep on top of myself with this room. So as far as new things, I have now a true mini disc deck. I need to focus a little closer. So now I can actually, oh, this is all powered off. I forgot. See? That's the switch. It's actually really handy because I know that all this stuff is dead when I leave. So finally have a true mini disc deck and a bunch of mini discs, including 4 from Anders Enger Jensen. Thank you very much. And also, these are really interesting. I got these on eBay. They're these weird Japanese mini discs from a brand called Daiso. I can't tell if they're in focus or not, but I like that they're solid color. You don't see that a lot in American ones. They have an aesthetic more like a floppy disk than a mini disc. and I really like those. But, and then that mini disc Walkman, this is the first mini disc player I ever had, and it was sent to me by a viewer. So thank you very much for that. And it kind of gave me a bug, and I was like, okay, now I need a real mini disc deck. And this is a saga that I actually regret because I didn't make a video on. This is my second mini disc deck because I bought the same model, and that one wouldn't record. And then I got this one, and it worked fine for about 3 disc insertions, and then it jammed. And so I had to actually take them both apart, and I used parts, like this is a Frankenstein. It had some parts from the other one, and it worked out great, but I wish I was documenting that because this was a mess. But finally, this does in fact work. These discs, the person in Japan actually bothered to blank them all, which was interesting. But finally, that's not working. Everything else, with the exception of that TIAC tape deck, which I got mainly because the VU meters are amazing. Let me turn it on. Oh, it's not plugged in? Well then, anyway, this sounds like garbage, but it has the old school deal where you slide the tape up and it sits like that. There's a light in there. I don't know why it's not plugged in. I swear I had that set up. But there's that. Everything else, though, I've had over various years. So, you know, I've got a PlayStation 2. Let me brighten this up a bit. So it's an input switcher that I had set up, some PS2 games. This was a cassette deck that I bought new. It's something like 2013 or 2012. And I did mod this one to put LED strips. I don't know if you're going to be able to, yeah, just barely. So that way the cassette bays are illuminated, because these tiny little windows, they're just like impossible to see. So that was a fun little thing. That's my favorite Laserdisc player, both side play. I like the aesthetic, however it's going insane and sometimes completely loses its mind and doesn't auto reverse correctly. So that's fun. And then, you know, you've seen that turntable a bunch of times. You've seen that VCR a bunch of times. So this is mainly just an amalgamation of all the AV stuff that I have that I know works and is in one place, and it's all hooked up. And finally, you know, it just, everything works, which is great. And then also this AV receiver, because it's like fancy. It has, you know, optical audio in and out for a number of things, so I can actually record from my Chromecast audio over optical through the receiver to a mini disc. Now, I don't know why I'm bragging about that, but I find that pretty flippin' cool. As far as other ideas down here, maybe one day. Ooh, let me close. Oh, first of all, I didn't really show, so there's, you know, I just kind of did the cheap and easy thing with one of those outlet things, but that's the one switched outlet that controls this side of the room. There's another one up there, and then this one is basically right above the TV, and then there's another one behind it. So what I will probably do is come up with some sort of lighting for this area using that outlet, and again, just have a switch. And then what I would like to maybe do, and for those of you who follow me on Twitter, you may know that I was going to do a rant about car dealerships. I, in fact, did do that rant, but it was far too long, and I repeated myself many times, so I abandoned that. I may do it again because they still bother me, but anyway, it's very odd that I'm talking like this. It seems like I've had caffeine, but I haven't really. Anyway, this is another area that I would like to have set up to do some sort of like a standing talking head, a much closer shot than I normally do. Obviously paint it something more interesting and maybe do something with the door, but again, have something where I could, you know, that outlet is right there, so just flip the light switch, lights are on, ready to go. And if I were to do something like that, I would probably get another mic stand for a medium shot, I could get the microphone much closer to me, so that might help with acoustics. And then the last thing I really need to do is I think the acoustic problems I'm having with this are mainly just the ductwork above it. I think that that's resonating much more than I think it is. And that's why the room sound isn't just like typical room sound. It's just kind of weird. So I want to wrap this all before I shoot the talking head for the next CED video. I am in fact going to wrap it. I'm just gonna, the hair lights are just attached to this piece of conduit, which is on two 2x4s. So I'm just gonna cram one of the blanket baffle things I have over it and kind of just attach it to the top and see how much that improves things. And if it's still garbage after that, then I will see, I'll see what I can do to make it better. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this final update of headquarters. Thank you again so much for making this possible. I want to continue to do more new exciting things. I haven't even talked about the garage, but frankly, the garage is just full of crap right now, and I don't imagine getting to doing car videos for probably a year or something like that. I got so many other fish to fry. But this room is a little messy, but my life is always a little messy, so that's just to be expected. But this room has finally come together. It's finally now where, my biggest prep time is just hanging these blankets up and getting the desk ready. Other than that, it's just turn on the switches and make sure the audio recorder is recording, make sure the camera's recording, and boom, ready to go. So as of now, the talking head only takes me an hour to record typically. It's getting all the B-roll and finding out what I need that takes forever. So my goal, I have to leave on Monday, and I probably will not be done with the video by then, but my goal is to have the talking head shot and edited. And also, here's something that I'm going to put to you. This video is continuing to get long. You know what? I'm going to put so you can see me, because this is weird. Hello, I'm back to this audio because you're not as close to me, but so I wanted to ask, would you be interested in having an early edit of the videos? Because my video making process tends to be the script and talking head are finalized 2 or 3 days before the video is completely, well, I shouldn't say the script and talking head, because the script takes, usually 3 to 4 days, and then the talking head is done. I try to get it done like the day I finished with the script, and then cutting that edit down only takes an hour to an hour and a half. So the time between when I know how the video is going to flow and when I finally have all the B-roll necessary to make the video, nice, is typically, 2 to 3 days, sometimes longer. So I just was curious if you might be interested in having an upload of that raw cut. I could just do a quick, even if I'm down here, I could just do a highly compressed 1080p render and spit it up there so you can see it early. I have a feeling most people aren't going to be interested in that because like those videos aren't super interesting, but if it's something that I just mean a literal talking head for 20 minutes or however long it is. But if it's something that you would be interested in having like super early access, it's not going to be difficult for me to do it. I just need to do it. So that is something that you may want to, just let me know if that's something that you might be interested in, because like I said, it's easy enough for me to do. Some video projects that are still like I haven't touched. This Laserdisc player, I want to try to get this working. I don't know if I could make a video, in the style of the main channel on addressing this, but I really want to get a usable image out of this thing. I just love, should take this off. I just love the way this player looks. It's so massive, but very few of these original players work. But the good news is this one spins up a disc and can read it. It's got its signal processing circuitry works well enough that on a CLV disc, if you get it farther away from the center, it actually slows the disc down and you get a picture on screen. So the laser tube works. It's just not tracking correctly. Either that or the video processing circuitry is just completely gone. So I think the most likely culprit is the laser optical system is like stuck, because this machine predates all CD players, and it's like experimental tech inside here. So it has these little mirrors that it wiggles, and that's how it tracks and like it can move the objective lens of the laser, but rather than being able to tilt it like you can do on modern optical setups, it actually has a couple of mirrors that the laser bounces off, and it moves those mirrors a little bit. And I think those mirrors might just be stuck, but I don't know exactly where they are, and I don't know how, if I could kind of get at them without destroying it, but it's worth a shot, because as of now this doesn't work at all. I gave an update back in May that I had traveled to Florida and got a lot of footage for a video that I'm piecing together. I'll be honest, I haven't touched that footage yet, because it's just, I'm holding that video for one thing, I want to get better voiceover equipment. So that's another thing on my to-do list. I want to get a better voiceover mic and a booth, so I can do that without just talking into my Tascam DR05, which never sounds very good. So I want to get that, and before I make that video, but I can't remember if there are any other videos that I've said are in the works. Teletext is definitely still going to happen. I really, I know I wrote it in text form, but I really appreciate your support when I kind of expressed my frustration on Patreon about how the project and my expectations of the project and how things were going with the people I wanted to collaborate with were just so not aligned. It was very frustrating, and I really appreciate your words of encouragement there. And I think the new direction of just telling the story from my American perspective is better than trying to, figure out what would be interesting from the Brits or the Europeans who, well, as of now, those are one and the same, but we'll see how that goes. But that perspective compared to mine. So that is definitely going to happen. I just need to get some months that are like not, I have stuff planned in every month now through the end of the year. So it is. And I don't mean for the channel, like I have family obligations mainly, and other things that are set in stone. So like the next, until the end of 2019 is just like, so teletext is unless I happen to get a video pumped out really quickly, which never happens because I have a habit of saying, this isn't good enough, I want better footage or whatever, which I hope you appreciate. I think it drives me mad much more than it drives you mad, because I always say to myself, I want to get a video done start to finish in a week, and it has just never happened. So I hope that your expectations are, I hope that my output is satisfactory to you, because it sometimes feels like I'm not doing a lot of work, and like I said, this is something I struggle with. I know I must be, because the last time I played a game or watched a movie, I've binge watched a couple TV shows, but it's been a long time since I've said, I'm just going to unplug and watch something. Yeah. That is my personal struggles, and I don't want to drag you along with me, but it is an interesting thing that I am now discovering. I'm sure this is what burnout is. I'm nowhere near to burning out, but I definitely get the feeling when people are burnt out that they're like, my goodness, I just have to work and work and work. And so I'm trying to get caught up so that way I can have some videos ready to go and legitimately take some time off, because as of now, like, when I traveled, it was like, okay, this was all lost time and now I need to make up for it. And so I tend to frantically work after that rather than preparing for that time and saying, this is my time now. So that's something I definitely need to get better at. Time management is just my, and this isn't just me as an adult. Like, this has been going back since I was in middle school. And even elementary school, I'm a procrastinator, but I never, like, I can work in these furies where I get a lot done very quickly at the last minute. So it always drove my parents insane because I would put off school projects until so irresponsibly late, and yet still get A's on most of them. And so that always drove them a little nuts, because it wasn't like I ever learned my mistake, because there weren't ever consequences. And now that my job is so ethereal like this, where it's like, well, I make videos, and is there a timeline for them? Loosely, yes, but I've never really said I need to get this done by this time. And I feel like I should do that. But if not that, at least I need to define working hours for myself, because I do tend to work. And I don't know why I'm really telling you this, but hopefully maybe you find it enjoyable. The way that my days off are like the 3 days after I release a video on YouTube. So I will have like a weekend, and kind of a longer weekend, but then when I get in the groove of making the next video, it's like, okay, now I'm writing. I'll write for 2 or 3 days. Now I have the script, let's shoot the talking head. I'll do that. That day tends to be not as frantic, because once I get the talking head, I feel like I've done something, so I will relax that day. But then once the talking head is done, until it's uploaded for you, is just work until it's done. And I know that's super not good, but that's just how I do it. And yikes. And then after it's uploaded for you, that's when I do the captions and the cards. I typically do that the next day. So that day is also kind of not a terrible day, but then once I finally release it, I watch how things are going for a couple hours, and then I relax for a few days. So that's like my relaxing time. And I definitely need to make it such that I have relaxing time every day. I need to, get up early, work something like 9 to 5, 9 to 6, and then say the evening is mine. And I'm not good at that, but I'm trying. But anyway, this is probably pushing into an hour. So if you were here for all of it, thank you. And I forgot, I did have a Frappuccino, a rare thing for me, around 3. So I did have caffeine. It is much later than that though. It is like 7:30, maybe even 8. But yeah. Anyway, wow, holy crap. This is a strange ending. But this is how things went. So thank you again, 1,000,000%. You guys are awesome. Anything that you want me to see? Yes, thank you for the people on Discord. I don't go on Discord a lot, but you just let me know of a really cool thing to make a video on, and I did win that eBay auction, so yay, that'll be in my hands hopefully within a week. So I do apologize I don't go on Discord a lot, but I do enjoy what goes on there, and when I pop my head in, I typically am very, very happy, so cool. But yes, I will finally, unequivocally, end this video here by saying thank you again so much. I appreciate your support more than I can ever express. And I will see you hopefully by hopefully by a week from today. I have this video ready. Hopefully sooner than that. I haven't finished the script on it, so I still have some. But I'm going to definitely shoot the talking head by Monday. So I hope to have the talking head and what I know I need to do done by Monday. And then I'll be back here on Wednesday to finish that up. Anyway, see you next time, or later, or however I should end this.